I do. Randy, I'm getting better at this, man. We mixed it up a little bit, but I got close. I'll get better at it. Hey, I'm Teddy Burriss. This is the Randy Wooden and Teddy Burriss show. My partner in crime, Mr. Randy Wooden.
Everybody.
And today we have three panelists, which makes up three special guests as we get into a conversation about the gig economy. And not all these are truly gig economies today, but I wager that all three of them started that way. We're going to talk about the opportunities of a gig economy versus getting a job. So who am I? I'm Teddy Burriss. I'm a LinkedIn strategist and trainer. And I love to help people who are in career transitions. That's why Randy and I got together and put this show together. Randy, would you introduce yourself to everyone, please?
Let me get my notes.
There's a little sticky note, dude. Just a little sticky note.
Yeah, Randy Wooden with Goodwill Industries of Northwest North Carolina. I'm the director for a professional center. So we help folks, professionals through their job transition. Just talked to a lady this morning. She's hopefully going to be tuning in. I also appear regularly on Fox 8 and do a bi-weekly column for the Winston-Salem Journal. So we're happy to help you. We're free. Reach out to me on LinkedIn. You can find me. You can find Teddy. But I was really excited to have our guest on today because I think a lot of us at some point, whether it's because we're suffering a layoff or it's just that kind of itch that we get at some point that says, you know, maybe there's more to it than just collecting a paycheck from an employer. And so the gig economy is our topic today, and we'll learn a whole lot more about that and why and the how and all that from our guests. But Teddy, let me turn it back to you so we can get this started.
Cool. And Randy, one of these days we ought to find somebody who plays in the eBay, Etsy space, who's knocking it out of the park and enjoying life, and maybe bring that style of gig economy to a conversation. So,
sure.
But, yeah, put that on
Teddy,
your list.
I'm not sure I don't know if we were recording this or not because I'm at NC Wiseman and I'm not seeing it. I've hit
so
record.
you probably got to get it off of my personal, man. I'm sorry. Can you grab it off my personal one, Teddy Burriss?
All right, I'll
I'm sorry.
check it out.
It didn't work right when I went to do it. So yeah, we're live on Facebook under Teddy Burriss. Hey, so our three special guests today are Rachel Trevette. Rachel, wave. Okay, Rachel, you're supposed to wave like this. There you go. Okay, and we have Nikkei Roach. Nikkei, wave. Okay, you want to be different. And then Kristie Staten. No, I got my phone ringing as why I would have my phone ringing.
Yeah, so, we're not recording, by the way, Teddy, just so you know. I just checked out your page, so technical difficulties, please stand by. But
we're live on Facebook, and we are recording, according to my thingy walker. So at least I hope it went to Facebook. But anyway, we are recording live here, so I'll make sure it goes to YouTube. So we'll get better at this, Randy. I got to practice.
And just so as people are tuning in, I'm going to monitor the chat box today. So if you have questions for our guests, chat those in. As always, we like to know where you are watching us from, aside from your computer, that is. But what city are you in? We've had Italy, we've had California, Canada, Maine, and right here in the Triad. So where are you? Let us know. And if you have questions, I'll try to jump in as you've asked those, and we'll pose those questions to our guests.
And Randy, I fixed the Facebook Live. We are momentarily live on Facebook. We are live on Facebook. So I just missed a click button. So cool. We're at 27,000 people. And look, Randy, I think you got some people from Boston to show up today, man.
Boston out there. That's where I come from.
In Staten Island, New York.
Yeah, gotta love that.
Yeah, Laurie from Pennsylvania, and Ellen's here. So good stuff, good stuff. It's wicked hot up there, according to Bruce in Boston. So let me get our special guests to introduce themselves. And so we'll just, if you could, just introduce who you are and and share a little bit about what you do, and maybe, for those of you who I know, what you do today isn't purely a gig economy, but it may have started there. Share a little bit about how you got to where you are in your business today. Rachel, you do have a gig economy business, in my opinion. Share a little bit about who you are and what you do, and what your business is.
Okay. I'm Rachel Trevette. I am a mom and former kindergarten teacher. But after I became a mom, I started my business, which is called Renewed by Rachel. And I build and repurpose and resell furniture and home decor items.
Yeah. And you do this, you're in Raleigh, North Carolina.
That's right.
And so are you selling this all out of your home, or are you selling this in other places?
I sell a lot of things out of my home, but I also have what they call a booth rental in a retail furniture store.
Yeah. And Facebook Marketplace?
Yes, I use Facebook Marketplace and a lot of the reselling apps like Let Go and Offer Up, those kind of things to resell my items.
Cool. Are you having fun?
Yes. Yes, or I wouldn't be doing it still.
Yeah. But why did you start your business? What was the thing that precipitated you to start this?
Well, for me, being a mom, I had 3 little kids. I was at home. Definitely wasn't able to pay for childcare for 3. So working out of my home was the starting point. I needed something I could do from home, and this was something I enjoyed doing. So I was able to convert it into a business. If
I remember a story you told me a while back, you started this because you wanted to send your youngest, or maybe you have a set of twins, and how are the twins? 6, 7? 6. And you have a 4-year-old?
2-year-old, almost 3.
Lordy, I wouldn't know that based on the way she talks. But you wanted to send them to preschool.
That's great, yes.
And if I understand, so talk about that.
Yeah, so like I said, because I was staying at home, I didn't have extra income to send them to preschool. So this was kind of my means to earn the money to reach that goal. So, and then it's just grown from there.
Yeah, and now your kids are really, really educated.
Sure.
Nikkei, introduce yourself and tell us how you got to where you are today, and the context of, because you're a multifaceted kind of a dude.
Okay, I'll go with that one. I first started out with my dad, and my mom got together. No, I'm just kidding. That was too far back and too weird. No, I do have a very wicked sense of humor. I enjoy humor. It's kind of what's keep me from being, slightly depressed and upset by the presidential stuff. But never mind that. Had to put that little plug in there. Yes, my name is Nikkei Roach. Some people see it as Nike. No, it's not Nike. I'm not a multi-billionaire. I am a dad of 3 amazing boys. All 3 of them, they are in that Zoom school now thing. I have an amazing wife / girlfriend who I'm surprised she hasn't beat me for all the weird comments I make on Facebook. But that aside, I did start out traditionally in a gig economy. I started out as a massage therapist. I came to Winston-Salem, the city I reside in, as a teacher. And I realized that, even though my family are educators, that may not have been, where I was going to go first. So I went into massage therapy, started out in 97, traditionally, working as a side gig and stuff like that. And then eventually, decided to get out of education for probably for a while, and then ran into starting our own practice, and then started hiring other folks who are massage therapists, acupuncturists, nutritionists, and that's kind of our space.
Mm-hmm.
The funny thing about it, and just as a side note, is many of our practitioners are still in the gig world, so they do multi things. I mean, we have our receptionist, or rather our manager, started out as an Uber driver, and another guy started out, working at the Humane Society, and someone else. So it's like everybody has like multifaceted little gigs that they do, either traditionally at home or they go to people's houses and stuff like that. And so today I get to, work with my wife, who's now the CEO of our company, and I get to work on other projects. And one that I'm really passionate about is working with veterans, both here in Detroit and nationally, and actually internationally, because we work with some people in the UK, but also helping other healthcare practitioners, kind of move from just being, in their living room or just traveling with their massage therapy table, moving from house to house to house and stuff like that. So I tend to help those folks to kind of move out of the garage, if you will. Not to say the garage is a bad thing, but maybe they want to move into a more brick and mortar space. And so that's what I've been doing now comfortably for about 10 years now. And I have a book coming out about that. So a little plug for that.
Yeah.
But I do have other projects, but I think I'm gonna stay focused on a couple right now.
My first acupuncture experience, Nikkei, I went to a guy's house and his acupuncture table was in the kitchen.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Totally. The health and wellness, and this is not the hospital space per se, because I doubt if you want to get open heart surgery on the kitchen table, but the acupuncture, massage, yoga instructors, even exercise professionals, for the vast majority of them, they're giggers. I mean,
Yeah.
they move around everywhere. And now the interesting thing is the PTs are, we're not talking about the hospital PTs in the clinic. We're talking about the folks who are independent practitioners. They're gigging it all over the town. I know one who's very good at it, who just basically moves to people's houses and is still kind of like a gig economy.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm with you. So good stuff. Yeah. Kristie, introduce yourself and how did you get to where you are today, and tell us what you do.
Okay, my name is Kristie Staten, and I am Commander-in-Chief at Creative Force, and I'm a brand strategist. I help businesses identify what their unique selling proposition is and why that is the most important to their target market. And we develop a story based on that, and the story is then developed into marketing materials like brochures or a website. So I provide graphic design and website design along with the brand storytelling strategy. And I first got into this in 1998 when I was laid off. And I wanted to make a slight transition. I was in exhibit design and I had some graphic design skills, but I was not in keeping with the technology that was used in marketing and advertising agencies. So I bought the computer, I bought the programs, and I was going to train myself. I had enough severance pay to get myself going for a couple of months. And in the meantime, I just accidentally got work. It was never my intention. In fact, somebody had come to the office I was working in before I got laid off, about 2 months before, and he was peddling his portfolio, and he was doing something very much like I do right now. And I looked at his portfolio and I said, "That's great. I don't see how we can use you, but thank you for coming by." And he walked out the door and I said, "I would never, ever want to do that." And ta-da! 2 months later, there I was doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. I get it. And we all, even Randy. I mean, Randy's got, he started out years ago. When did you start Wooden Consulting?
Oh, a long time ago. Hey, you know what, Teddy? Let me throw something in here real quick, just from a definition standpoint, because people talk about a side hustle. They talk about the gig economy, and I've got my own understanding and definition of what a gig economy and a side hustle. So let me share that, and I'd be interested in hearing your perspective and others, because we hear the term remote worker, we hear the term virtual, but to me, if I have a full-time, like for example at Goodwill, I have a full-time job. So for me, if I'm earning money on the side, that's a side hustle. I still have a full-time employer. A gig economy in my mind is what you guys do, which is you don't have a full-time boss. You don't have the full-time employer on within a salary basis, but your ability to eat is dictated by your ability to generate business. And typically it's on a project basis. So maybe you do a website or you do a marketing campaign, and then maybe you take on some other projects with furniture. And so that's my thought on it. I'm curious how you guys see that. Is there any kind of differentiation as to whether, hey, I got a full-time job and a salary, and this is an additional, or this is in lieu of that full-time salary job?
Yeah. Thoughts? Side hustle versus gig economy? Anybody?
I mean, I'll try it, but I think they kind of they kind of flow in and out with each other. Sometimes, we try to separate and say, maybe I am, I'm working on a project for a specific clientele. Maybe you're a project manager from home or remotely, or you have multiple people that you work for. I guess you would say that, but that could also be a side hustle too. So it doesn't necessarily mean just because you're a gigger, like say for example, you drive Uber and that's your thing, you're a gigger, but that doesn't necessarily separate you from being a firefighter on the rest of the week, or law enforcement, or a business professional, whatever you do. So I think sometimes they flow in and out. They're not necessarily exclusively one or the other.
Yeah.
I'd like to add in where, being an employee versus being self-employed. As an employee, I feel like somebody's taking care of me. I'm provided a paycheck. I'm provided other benefits. And as a self-employed, and I just focus on that one part of the business that I have to make a contribution. When you're self-employed, you have to do everything. Bring in the business, do the work, do the networking, be somebody in the community. And you have to learn the hustle. The hustle then becomes learning how to do everything. If you don't have the budget to hire somebody.
Yeah. Rachel, anything different?
No, just to add to it, I think that, just like we've all said, the side hustle so often turns into the full-time gig, or whatever you want to call it. It might start out, you might be working for some employer full-time, and, just doing it on the side, and eventually it becomes your full-time thing. So
Yeah. And that happens often. Sometimes, as Kristie said, it just happens, or sometimes it's the right time for you to put the energy into taking your side hustle and making it a bigger thing. I get it. Randy?
Yeah, something, and Kristie touched on it, and this is something that I encounter with my clients sometimes at our professional center, and they say, hey, I'd like to do this on my own. I'd like to start my own business. And particularly when you get into what I'll call the technical arena, the IT guys, the computer fix-it guys. And one of the cautions, and I'd like all of you to speak to this if you would, is to your point, Kristie, you don't just have to be good at fixing computers in that case. You've got to be good at marketing. You've got to be good at selling your business and promoting the business. And a lot of times people have skills in certain areas, but not sufficient skills to get out and market. So now they're dying on the vine because they can do great work, but their weakness is the ability to bring that work in the first place. So can you speak about some of the challenges you guys have faced in having to have such a wide variety of skills to make this thing fly?
Okay, since Kristie is like pausing for a moment, I'm waiting. I'm like, come on now, girl, bring it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so since in my space, that is very, very common. And I talk to my clients specifically, and these are clients who are more massage therapists, exactly about that. Because Randy, you've touched it. Sometimes you may be a technocrat or something like that. You're really good at computer programming, you're a coder, or you're a great graphic designer, or you can do anything, or you're a great artist or painter. Whatever it is that you do, you have the skills, you have the God-given talent, or you learned it from someone else. The challenge, and I've had this with some of my employees, is that just because you're a good technician doesn't make you a good business person. And you have to be able to kind of marry two skills, because you have to have interpersonal skills, but you have to have marketing skills. You have to be able to manage your finances, but you also have to be able to manage your website. So like Kristie has spoken to, until you can hire somebody else, you are the chief bottle washer and CEO, and you have to do all those things. So I always caution people, like Randy said, hey, before you think you go out there, find out if there is some marketing space for it. And if you don't have that talent, either hire it out or learn it.
And that goes back to one of the things that Rachel said when Rachel gave me some notes that the things that she would add to. And one is finding resources to help you figure out what you need to do. Do you need an attorney? Do you need contracts? Do you need someone to do your bookkeeping? Do you need to do market research? And you got to really, I don't want to present this in a gig economy. You got to build a business plan, but by golly, you got to build some kind of a plan.
No, but even to exactly that, if you think about it in a weird sort of a way, the people who are part of your resource, your Avengers, if you will, I like to call them my Avenger team, or if you're a DC comic person, go for that. But who are the people that you don't need to have everything yourself, but you need to know where to get it. You know, if you need to work on your resume, do you just sit there all night and grin and burn and you're just suffering, but that's not your skill set. Find the person who that is what they do to make money. Hire them. If you suck at a website design, hire them. If you suck at something and you have the financial resources, or if you don't have the financial resources, get a gig to fund those resources to go and hire those giggers, because they're all over. In the internet generation, there's a lot of things that you should be focused on to make your business run. And there are things that you can just hire somebody who's like Kristie, who's just a phone call away.
Kristie, and then we'll come to Rachel.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to say, aside from having to learn all these things, bookkeeping, marketing, HR, new technologies, the legal aspects of your business, you have to build your own skills. But I actually found joy in all of that in my first couple of years, in the joy of learning about the different business aspects of business. And then the other thing that being a business owner opened up for me was the opportunity to learn about and develop leadership skills by being involved with networking organizations and getting on boards and being able to contribute that way. So, it's not all painstaking having to learn a lot of this. There is joy in learning.
Yeah. By the way, no HR at Burriss Consulting. No HR. Rachel, you have a thought?
Well, I was saying, I'm coming from it. My business is still rather small, and I definitely don't have the means to hire people to do anything other than what I can do myself. So, and like Kristie was saying, you've got to find a way to learn it. So finding resources to learn these skills, but also finding other small business owners or people who are maybe not in the same field as you, but are trying to do this gig or this business themselves, and use their knowledge. Have them kind of mentor you and help you figure out what it is you need to learn and where to go to find the information that you need.
Yeah, I use a statement in my career coaching that says, if you want to be, and Randy, I'm going to use the analogy, if you want to be a hula hoop dancer, you need to go find other hula hoop dancers to hang out with. If you want to be, what was the one I used the other day, Randy? Oh, it was a roller derby.
Cat wrestler? I don't know.
Whatever. Yeah. If you want to do something, you need to meet people who do that and hang out with them. It's the best way to grow and learn. And I would wager that all three of you have found people who do stuff sort of kind of like what you do. Is that fair?
Yeah.
So meet as Nikkei said, if you have the wherewithal, hire people. By the way, you know how much it costs to get a logo made? Now, Kristie, don't get mad at me. For those of us who
not mention Fiverr,
there are people that can do that for you for reasonable dollars. Nikkei?
I think, Kristie, you've qualified it right there. You can get $1, you can get something done, but can you get a good logo?
Yeah.
That's the different story altogether. Yeah. So it's quality is in the investment.
It is. I'm with you in all that regards. Randy?
Yeah, there's something that I think some of you have alluded to, and I know, Kristie, in your talking points, you mentioned business envy. And so I wanted to kind of pick up on that. And I've heard this many times over, that, and I think I'm guilty of it at times too, and that is that this stuff doesn't happen overnight. It's not as though suddenly you're going to have Amazon. I mean, look at Amazon and how that started, and it just grew and grew and grew. And so don't feel like if Rachel is sitting there and can't bring in the extra outside resources, in time you can get there. I think too often people look at somebody like Kristie. It's just like looking at a singer that is famous, yet they spent 20, 25, 30 years overnight success. And now suddenly you look at the end result and go, wow, she's got it going on. But we don't know the incremental steps from scratch to get to where you are. and that life's a journey kind of a thing. So don't be intimidated when you look at people and you look at Nikkei and go, wow, he's successful. Look at that. You know, why don't you talk to somebody like that? Talk to Alan Younger with Forsyth Tech Small Business Center. Look and reach out to get the resources because they want to help you grow, but it won't happen overnight. So just stay with it. I guess that's one of the thoughts. But that business envy, Kristie, that's something that's real, I think, and it can hold people back. It really can.
You know, the other thing that happens in that regard too, Randy, is people, they'll say to themselves, I remember going through this. I remember when I started my business, I had two peers who do something similar to me. They challenged me. They wanted to know why I thought that I was good enough to be in this space. Now, if I was lesser of a confident person than I have become, I would have let that eat at me. But I didn't. I sort of laughed it off and sort of like took it as a challenge that, hey, you know, we all put our pants on the same way. We all get up and think, we do, Nikkei. We all get up and we do the things we need to do. We learn the way we need to learn and we practice what we should be practicing. And so I took that as a challenge to go become good at this. And so it's really important, business envy or fear that I can't compete. Really, both those things get in the way. So let's go, let's do this. The catalyst for starting your business. I think we got that from everybody here. Nikkei, so what are some ideas from you about, you know, what were some of the 2 or 3 ideas that you can share that help you take your business and really move it forward into something that that you're really excited about? 2 or 3 tips.
I think we touched on it already. Is one, don't think just because somebody is successful, it started that way. And I've seen business owners and I've talked to business owners and I work in that space and I'm always constantly learning. I would estimate that I've paid for 2 or 3 houses on my educational loan, and it was a lot of it from business, and some of it was from trade, let's be honest. But it's the idea that don't just assume that the person you see who looks so successful got that way. Yeah. They weren't born that way. You don't see the times when they struggled, when they cried, when they were, you know, bankruptcy. It's almost, you know, it's a lie that we think that the veneer doesn't show the flaws. The flaws are what makes you better. And go through that challenge. You know, when you get started, it's the flaws of which are gonna, I mean, it sounds strange, but it's the flaws that's gonna make you the money. Yeah. But we don't necessarily think about the flaws. We're like, oh, my perfect, you know, my perfect website. Those all the things it took for you to get to that point to understand. It's developing that process. And I think the biggest thing I would say is don't let others' success, you know, get in the way of you. And why can't you solve it? Now, the other side of it is, and this is a weird one, is find out what the marketplace wants. You know, yes, there may be a desire for yet another massage therapist, but find out how can you be different? How can you tap into an unused area? I mean, if you think about just where we are now with the COVID, who would have thought a year ago that there would be so many different versions of mask creation? Yeah. There's plastic, there's everything, but you see it in the marketplace. So that would be my 2 for now, and I might have a third one.
We'll come back to it. Randy, you want me to do the 30-minute break?
Yeah.
So again, I'm Teddy Burriss, my good friend Randy Wooden. This is the Randy and Teddy lunch conversation. Our special guests are Rachel Trevette, Nikkei Roach, and Kristie Staten. And the conversation is all about, you know, how to move from a job into a side hustle that may become a gig economy, that may become a business. Randy and I have been doing this thanks to all of you we're at week 26, 27 or something like that. We now have a sponsor and we're really proud and excited about our sponsor, and we'll introduce you to our sponsor next week. So thank you everyone to come. Randy, do you have something else?
Well, Nikkei, you touched on the pandemic and the masks. And one of the questions that we have from Steve is, how has that pandemic affected each of your businesses? How has that happened?
Rachel, you leaned in, girl.
I mean, I sell, a tangible object in a retail space. So it's, when the pandemic, I guess towards the beginning of the year, it did affect my business because, at least in North Carolina, stores like mine were closed for a little while. And then even though they're open, traffic's still up, people aren't out and about as much. So, that has had an effect on my business.
Nikkei, it didn't affect your business at all, did it?
Oh God, are you kidding me?
I am joking. How are you working past this?
Being nimble. I guess I'm not using all the other coin phrases, but being nimble is the key. It is to adjust, obviously, to different scenarios. Different protective procedures, even people's personal, I'd say not trust, but how they feel about even coming to your space. It caused us to do a lot of other adjustments. We had to do a staff restructuring, and it did require us to be very, very creative and be very lean. I guess that's the other thing about it, is when you have really good times, you forget, some of the lean methodologies that you had to do. No, I can't do that because, I have to be a little bit more cautious about what I do within our business. So yes, in my space, and again, the other side of it is, our space is highly regulated. I mean, we don't always think about massage and health and break, but we're heavily regulated by the state. We have all kinds of requirements that we have to do because we are in the health space. We think of massage sometime as, it's no, but we are health practitioners. Literally, the state acknowledges us as health professionals, so we have to have different things that are required. So whenever the state kind of slammed down on the health facilities, we had to just shut down, for those months and really order all the necessary requirements. So it's more expensive, to be honest. But it did also allow us to refocus some of our energies to find out what really the consumer really is looking for, and then focus in on some of those and sort of cut away some of the things that were nice to have, but they weren't necessarily generating the kind of, returns that our clients were looking for or our team was looking for.
I like those 3 words, dude. Nimble, lean, and adjust. We should be applying those to what we do in our business every day anyway. Unfortunately, when we get pressed to do them, it becomes more difficult to figure out how to do it. But, kudos to those who figure it out. Kristie, how's the pandemic affect you and your business?
Oh, I've been very fortunate because I work in the marketing arena, and a lot of companies are looking at different ways to market themselves. So I've been brought in to build some interesting websites that help organizations reach out where they never were before. They were doing it in person. So I've been fortunate about that. But one thing I've discovered is that I don't have to be in front of people to get business. And when we went into the lockdown, I said, I'm never going to get business again if I can't be in front of people. But with Zoom networking, I've gotten referrals, I've gotten new clients, and it's just amazing. I heard somebody refer to that as the joy of missing out. We're often going on autopilot thinking we have to do certain things or else we won't see results. But look at all the people that are seeing new results by not doing the same thing.
A little transparency. Kristie and I used to hang out at a co-working space together. I miss those days.
Yeah. Every day feels like Groundhog Day right now.
Yeah.
I'm so tired of it.
Yeah. Here's another, let's do this one. Benefits. So, you've got your own gig economy, turning into a business, growing into a thriving business. What's the benefit? Rachel, what's the benefit for you to do your own business?
Well, for me, it's on my own schedule. I'm, like I said, I'm a stay-at-home mom, so I've got all of these kids running around. I can work when I want to, when I can. Of course, now with the pandemic, it's a little more challenging because I've got kids on calls and doing school all day. So it's, there are challenges, but that's one of the benefits for me is on my schedule and do what I'm selling what I want to sell. I'm not working for someone else telling me, you've got to do these projects. I get to choose what I want to work on and what I'm comfortable with. So, I mean, for me, I'm selling, furniture that I've remade. I've learned as I've been doing this that I'm not comfortable working on other people's projects. So I don't do custom work. That's just the decision I made. And because I'm, it is my business, I can do that. I can choose what I want to do.
Yeah.
So.
Creative freedom.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nikkei, what about you? What's the benefit to you to take your gig, your business and create what you have today?
There's a lot of benefits, but I'll leave it for others. Is that you can adjust. Oftentimes when you work for organizations, big or small, your suggestions, and oftentimes they are suggestions, can kind of get muddled in there sometimes. And if it's a bigger organization, it can take years before those changes happen. But if you need to adjust really, and I use that again, if you need to adjust, if you need to change your marketing strategy, I think one of the biggest advantages of the gig or the smaller side gig hustle, if you want to use any one of those, is that you can look at the market, see what your customer is looking for. And if they're no longer looking for that, then it's like, okay, well, why do we even have it? And I'll use a product only because it's omnipresent now. And I'm not pushing them, I'm just using them as an example. In my space, BioFreeze, when it first came out many, many years ago, it was the hot item that many massage therapists was, it was coveted because it tends to work. Not to say, I'm promoting that product. But when it became available at Walmart, almost if anything becomes available at Walmart, it becomes a bit challenging. But when it became available at Walmart, those people who really counted that as a line item, as something very profitable, it kind of sucked for them, and they were not prepared to find other products that were comparable or that were more innovative to bring that the customer is going to need. And this goes for any product or service. What's hot today may not be hot tomorrow, but often if you're part of an organization and you're not, in the leadership position, you can't necessarily just say, okay, we're not going to do that anymore because it's not working anymore. We can make a suggestion to our boss or whatever, but it doesn't always go up the chain, and sometimes they're not responsive. So I would say the ability to, move around when you see that the water or the temperature have changed in that particular space.
Yeah. And you work for your CEO of your business is your wife/girlfriend. Do you have any challenges getting her to accept your opinions about the business?
Yeah, that usually goes over pretty no. It sort of gets interesting sometimes because, when you step down, you have to, accept that, she's running it. And I as much as I think is a good idea, it's like, no, it answers at her office and that's it. And I just accept it. So it is a challenge when you have to take that hat off and, allow her to soar. And to be honest, she's doing a better job than me. Yeah. Holy crap.
Yeah. Good move, dude. Kristie, what about you? What's the big benefit besides the dollars and what's the big benefit for you personally to do what you do?
I'm going to go back to time and being on my own schedule. Now that the days are getting shorter, I want to ride my bike in the middle of the day, and I can do that without having to ask myself if I'm allowed. And I'll just, if I've got extra work, I'll make up for it in the evening or on the weekend. Yeah. Or just decide I can't go on that bike ride. But yeah, it's really the biggest benefit is scheduling.
I'm with you. Even in my business, and as Nikkei, I work for my wife as well. But it is that freedom. I mean, I can walk. She's working on hobbies downstairs. I can walk down there with her and see what's going on. I can stop in the middle of the day and go run an errand if I want to run an errand, or I can decide I don't work on Fridays. And for 11 years, I don't work on Fridays.
I want to add one more thing. Is one of the benefits of being a business owner and having to be out in the community is being better connected with the community, with a bigger diverse audience, a more diverse group of people versus during the day you see only the people that you work with, and then your family at night, or whatever smaller groups. So wider range of people.
Yep, I get it. Hey, let's take it in this context. We got about 5 minutes left, maybe a little bit more. Randy, you working on a story?
Oh, always.
So let's talk.
There's something you guys have been talking about. It triggered a thought, because I'd been self-employed for a long time, doing the kind of work I do now with Goodwill. And one of the things that I missed about working in a corporate environment was the ability to collaborate. And, I was a lone wolf from did I have a mentor? Did I have somebody that was side by side with me that I could kind of bounce ideas off of? And I just felt like an island, that I was a little bit isolated. I'm an only child, so I'm used to that kind of situation. But yet when I moved into working with Goodwill, I really enjoyed the teaming and the environment that I was within, because I could bounce ideas off people, kind of a reality check kind of a thing. And also I was able to mentor some of the other folks there and show some things that maybe they hadn't seen before. So to me anyway, that was, I guess, one benefit of looking at it from both sides, to see, is there a value of working within the corporation too? So that was, for me anyway, one thing that I noticed, years ago.
I miss the water cooler camaraderie.
Yeah.
A little bit. Yeah. I mean, there are pros and cons every way you go. And you guys have to be on point. You can't just say, I'm going to go ride my bike all day, every day. You know what I mean? So, and some people, and this is another thing that people run into, not just gee, do I have the marketing skills? Do I have the PR skills to promote my product? But do I have the stick-to-itiveness? Do I have the dedication and the commitment? And maybe that's a factor of how strong is your dream, and what's your drive. But I've known of other people who just sit on their butt, and next thing you know, they're out of money, and now they have to go back and get a job. And it's almost as though they gave themselves license to fail.
Yeah.
Maybe they're afraid of success, and so it's easier just to say, I tried, and the heck with it. I don't know.
So that's a good segue into the next question I had for the group. And I really appreciate you guys coming in and sharing these ideas. This could be a huge conversation going on and on. Risk or fears? So what do you think's a risk, or what do you think's a fear? What are you afraid of with your business, Rachel? What risks do you have, or what fears do you have?
Well, risk is putting a lot of work into something. Like, I'm physically working on a piece of furniture and it's just sitting and nobody liking it, or, just wasting my time. So I guess that one fear, or I guess you could say a fear I have, is just not, like what you said, not being successful, not making any money, even though you put a lot of work into it.
Yeah. And by the way, share the URL to Renew by Rachel in the chat, would you, for the attendees? So yeah, you put all this effort into it, and nobody wants to hug your baby. Nikkei, what about you?
Ooh, you said risk or what?
Risk or fears? What you go?
Both. I mean, you fear that you're going to fail, but ironically, that's what you should do, because again, it's through the veneer. It's behind the veneer that your greatest assets really reveal themselves, I think. I mean, other people might have other opinions, but I stopped even counting the number of business failures I had. I mean, I just stopped counting because it's not even worth it. I mean, last year I had 4 that just bombed out, just terrible. And they weren't necessarily businesses in the classic sense where I went out and got a bank account and got all it registered, but it was projects.
There was still a business opportunity.
It was still a business. It was designed to make money. And I think at the core of it, every business should strive to make money, even if they're in a nonprofit space, because, hey, somebody got to pay to keep the lights on. Yeah. So it's, the fear sometimes is that, how fast do I need to fail at this, or fail at this project, so that I can get this thing going more successful? I guess it's a kind of a roundabout circular answer, but I think sometimes, and this is when I talk to other folks at the same thing, and this is not a put down. It's like, don't worry about failure. You need that. You need the math is a problem until you learn how to do math. It's no longer a problem once you know what 2 + 2 is. But you won't know that until you get into that space, and you're gonna, for new folks, you're gonna suck at it first. I won't find any business owner, be they big or small, who would tell me that their first business they ever did was a booming success. It might have taken a while for it to become that, or they may have had to move through a couple of businesses. But I think the fear is hey, do I fail now or later?
Along the lines of the other words you used earlier, I'd throw in the word pivot.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so they don't like my baby dressed like that. I'm going to dress it a little bit different. Kristie, what about you? Fears or risk?
Yeah, fear is, I fear what never actually happens. So it was a waste of time anyway. A couple of years ago, I was worried about money, and I sought out an intuitive healer who said, "When have you ever been without any money?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, that's never. I mean, it's been tight and lean and scary, but that's never actually happened." The other thing is, fear will sometimes keep me from moving forward when I'm learning a new technology. I don't know how to do something. And eventually, I just get sick of the fear, and I just, get over it. And then I move forward and I learn and progress. And I try to teach myself sometimes, remind myself, don't let the fear of not knowing how it's going to turn out keep you from trying.
Yeah, I get it. It's a huge part of doing the things we really want to do is figure out how to mitigate the risk and manage the fear. A really good friend of mine who's been dead for many years, his name is Dale Carnegie. He wrote a book, and some of you probably know what this book is that I'm not going to refer to. The first book is How to Win Friends and Influence People. The second book he wrote is How to Stop Worrying and Start Living.
Wow.
And it was when I read that book, most specifically read what Kristie referred to, is that 98% of everything that we worry about never freaking happens anyway. It was when I read that I said, now I'm ready to start my business. Because I actually made a phone call. Nikkei, one of the things that Dale Carnegie taught me in the book is, to accept the worst possible thing may happen, accept that it may happen, and then put every ounce of energy towards not letting that happen. Well, I needed a little bit more safety net than that. So I have 4 daughters who have their own homes. I called each of these 4 daughters and said, if your mother and I fail in this business and we have to sell everything, can we move in with you? 3 of the 4 said, okay. I had a safety net. So you just got to figure out a way to, again, take care of the risk, put all your energy into making it happen, and believe in yourself and not worry about the fears. This conversation can go on way more. Rachel, thank you very much for showing up. Nikkei, thanks for showing up. Appreciate your ideas. Nikkei, would you drop in the chat? Can you do the chat? Are you on the desktop and tell people the name of your business and your website? Kristie's already done that. I haven't seen Rachel do it. Rachel, when you can, drop your URL. This is a good conversation. Randy, who do we have up next week?
Next week is Natalie Sanders to talk about legal issues in the application and the hiring process.
Yeah. She's going to share ideas, but she's not going to pretend to be anyone's lawyer.
Right.
So yeah, it'll be a good conversation. Yeah. So.
Well, we get asked that a lot. I get asked questions of, hey, are they allowed to ask me that? Or, what if I have a disability? When should I reveal it, if at all? Or just, age issues, discrimination issues, all things dealing with COVID. And what's the law say? And not that we're going to be attorneys and offer legal advice, but I think it's, if nothing else, it's interesting to me to understand politics, religion in the workplace, just a whole host of things that come up in real life. And so how should we respond and react?
And as we always say, if you have a topic or a conversation that you would like for us to chat about or bring a subject matter expert in, because neither Randy or I are subject matter experts in anything. Can I say that loud?
Works for me.
Yeah.
My whole life.
Yeah, we want to bring people in. We want to bring the smarter people in to share us. If you have an idea, you got to hunt us down on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, or Tinder, and let us know who you're thinking of, and we'll bring them in.
How's that Tinder account working out for you, Teddy?
Randy, family is here, man.
I wasn't the one who brought it up.
I know. Hey, Randy, you got a story?
Yeah, I got a story for you. I started out of college, got out in '82. I was a radio jock. I have a nice voice and a face for radio, so it all made sense. But they pay you in sunshine in radio, basically, meaning food stamp wages, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, I got married in '85, and during the wedding, this is '85, my uncle David, we rented one of those big camcorders that, you hold like this. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was a manual focus. So you can imagine, it looked like the guy was wasted from day one, from when he, so we saw our wedding video looked horrible. Now, David was trying to do a great job. And I thought, here's a place where I could have a side business. And I did. I started videotaping weddings. I started doing because again, back in '85, who had a video camera? So not that I was seeking out that kind of work, but it kind of hit you. And I think part of the time we go through life with these blinders on, and we're not open to seeing what's out there. And if we never try something, we'll never necessarily know. I used to DJ dances and all kinds of silly stuff. And actually for 75 cents a column inch, okay, I used to get paid 75 cents for a column inch to write a sports column in our local paper. And I started a small syndicate of about a dozen newspapers across we used to literally fax my article every week. And it was all those fun things on the side. And not that they were big money makers, but you know what? It stoked the fire of saying, hey, I can do something on the side here. That side hustle or that gig economy. It doesn't have to necessarily be your sole source of income, but you know what? If you derive pleasure from it, if it's something that really gets you stoked, then go for it, do it. And if it develops into something greater, I'm sitting here today working for Goodwill. If I hadn't started this whole thing, this whole process of what I do many, many years ago, I wouldn't be sitting here. So you don't know, it's a journey. You don't know where you're going to end up. Don't be afraid to take that initial leap. And I had a friend of mine, I was really kind of getting down on myself back in, I'm going to say it was about 2008, 2009, when we had the recession. And of course, I charged dollars and, a lot of dollars to provide my services to job hunters. And I was just feeling like a failure. And the guy's name was Tom. He's a friend of mine. He's a client. And we went out to lunch one day and I was, kind of giving him the old sob story. And he said, hey, dude, he said, look, he says, failure is an occurrence. It's not a personality trait. And I'm like, you know what? You're right. I hadn't really thought of it that way. And to DK's point, below the varnish, that's where you really learn. And I'd like to think that I've learned throughout life. Still have a lot to learn. The older I get, I find the more I don't know. But I do think that we need to be open to opportunities and realize that we are human. We aren't always going to make the best decisions. And sometimes we may not get to where we think we want to go when we want to get there. But you know what? Doesn't mean we don't want to try. So go for it. Try it. And we're looking at 3 successful people here who saw the opportunity, took advantage of it. And you can see the fire in their belly and they talk about what they do. A lot of people, and I see them stuck in corporate America and all they do is count the days to retirement. How pathetic is that? And I see it so often. So go for it. Take the opportunity. It may not always work, but the joy is in the journey a lot of times. And be open to that, folks. Really be open to that.
I'll add to that, Randy, I have a video on YouTube that I'm going to get reproduced here soon. It's called Dream Out Loud, Share Your Dreams with Complete Strangers. And that's that process is how you figure out what is it that I really, really want to do? When my feet hit the floor in the morning, as I roll out of bed, am I excited? And am I eager? Am I looking forward to the day or not? And so you got to find something that, and it may not happen early on. I mean, I was 45 years old when I figured this out because I had to raise a family and I was not willing to take that risk. And that was my decision. I was not willing back then. But when I became willing, I said, I'm going to find something to do that I get out of the bed in the morning excited to whatever extent excitement can be. I'm not saying I jump out of bed. I got a movie I'll share with you, Randy, one day. about a guy who's dancing to work, you know. And I mean, I don't get out of bed going hip, hip, hooray, but I get out of bed excited because I know what's in front of me is something I can control and something I can make something out of. It's mine. So you have to do this. You have to dream and figure out what this is. And we were taught as kids to daydreaming is okay. And the moment we turn into adults, they say, stop daydreaming. And I think that's such a huge failure on us as a society, not to let adults deliberately daydream. Notice, Nikkei, I threw the word deliberate in there. You can't sit back with a great knee high and just daydream all day long, but you purposeful daydream. And then when you do this dreaming, and then you take these ideas that you come up with, and then you go talk to people about it. I'm thinking about starting a furniture renewal business where I take pieces of furniture and turn it into something else. What do you think? How many people were excited about that when you first told them, Rachel?
Well,
Huh?
a couple, I guess.
Yeah. I remember when I said I was going to start my business, and Rachel may know this, I told my father-in-law I was going to start a business teaching people social media. This was in 2010. And my back then, he was probably 58-year-old father-in-law. He said, are you sure? They wasn't excited about it, you know? But anyway, you get into conversations with people and you listen to their ideas, and their ideas help you take your ideas to another level, to something different, pivot, adjust, make, be a little different than what it first looked like. There's a great video out there. Everybody who's thinking about doing their own business should look at. The video is called Where Great Ideas Come From. It comes from the collision of two ideas. And that's how you take an idea that you have and you turn it into something that you may be excited about doing, and then you put all your energy into doing it. So, Rachel, any closing statement from you? And I'm going to ask Nikkei and Kristie the same thing.
Just what you said. If you haven't, if you want to try to do something beyond just working for an employer, think about it, talk to other people, and try it, on a small scale before you jump into it feet first. So.
Yeah. By the way, I wrote a word down, Nikkei. I wrote a word down, Rachel, that I wanted to use, and I wanted to say, start it. Don't try. Start it. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Yeah. Nikkei, what about you? Some closing idea?
Many of my ideas I get from, I think you said it, a marrying of spaces. And it's sort of funny in my space. And Randy, you had touched on it. It was, don't be afraid of the journey. Yeah. But many of the ideas I get in massage. Sounds weird, but if you're opening up, and it doesn't matter if they're talking to you or their bodies are talking to you, or a hug, or an idea, a smile or something, be open enough to accept an idea from someone else. It may, in fact, just be a smile. It may be an idea because you saw somebody else's. But the other side of it is, and I have one of these, it's called my idea scrapbook. Write it down, put it somewhere, and you may not know how to use it right now, but stuff it in that file. And when you're in that space again, like your ideas and your daydreaming again, it's like, where does that idea come from? I can't remember. Go back to that file and it's there for you, because now it's time for that idea to germinate as opposed to just sit there.
Yeah. Got it, man. Got it. Yeah. Kristie, what about you?
Don't say no. Don't say I can't do that. If somebody asks you to do something and it's in your realm of expertise, just a little bit beyond what you normally do, take the opportunity and then figure out how you're going to get it done. Yeah. I know a lot of groups that are organizations that have really expanded their business by saying yes, and then they're like, how are we going to do this? But they do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Good point. Good stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for showing up as panelists. We really appreciate it. We're almost we are at the hour. Next week, we have a conversation about legal issues with employment. It'll be an interesting conversation. We thank everybody for showing up. Randy, been a pleasure hanging out with you today again, buddy.
All right. I'm wearing pants this week, so that's a plus.
We told you not to talk about that. So, all right. We'll see everybody later. Again, thank you very much.
Bye. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.